Hello, AP Latin students. We'll be doing Caesar's Gallic Wars, Book 5, Section 33 today. We're going to look and see kind of how both Sabinus and Cotta miss the mark in their leadership here. Particularly Sabinus, who really does not do a good job here. So starting off, Tum Denum, then at last, Sabinus, since he had foreseen nothing before, or since he had provided for nothing before. And then trepidare, your book says hurried about or shook with fear. You could also say panicked was another translation I saw. So panicked and ran about and arranged the cohorts. All right, and those three infinitives, they're what are called historical infinitives. They give a lot of action to the scene. And you can just translate them like regular past tense verbs. Okay, and then you have haec tamen ipsa. Nevertheless, he did these very things timidly or fearfully. And with the result that all things seemed to fail him. Okay? So in other words, nothing that he was trying to do was working. Okay? And you'll notice there that haec tamen ipsa, you kind of have to supply a verb in there. You'd say something like, he did these things timidly, to help it make a little more sense. And then with the ut, the atque ut, your book tells you can say and as if or and with the result that. So it's going to introduce a result clause. So that's why that widerenter is in the infinitive later on. Okay? And then quod, that which is accustomed to happen, or excuse me, to accustomed generally to happen, to those who are compelled to take counsel in business itself, or in an affair itself, or probably I like business in a business itself, or in an undertaking itself. Okay, so in other words, he, since he hadn't planned for any of this, nothing was going how he wanted it to, which is kind of what happens when you don't make a plan for something. Everything that you try to do goes awry. So the negotio there, you'll notice in the business itself, negotio is just kind of a compound. You've had the word otium before, which is like leisure or free time, and then neg, you put that in front of it, makes it the negation. So instead of free time, you have business. All right. Also, you've got a nice akitera in there in line 4. That's a nice complementary infinitive as well. Just taking note there. Okay, line 5. At kata, but kata. Okay, and remember he is the other ambassador, or the other legate here. And then since he had thought that these things could happen on the journey, and and then kind of excuse me, since these those happen on the journey, and for this reason had not been an advocate or an advisor Or one of the first definition your book gives, one who produces. Probably not the best for outdoor here. A promoter, that would be a good one. Who had not been a promoter of the departure, the profectionis. Okay, so once again, they've got the qui plus the subjunctive, the cogitasit. You saw that back actually up in line 1. So that's a subjunctive and relative clause that's acting causally. Okay, so that's why they're translating it since. Okay, and then that's giving us a nice indirect statement here that these things could happen. Okay, so you've got posse, your verb, your indirect statement. Akitera then would be a nice complementary infinitive. All right, and then you'll notice profectionis is a genitive, so the instigator or promoter of the departure. And I think this would probably be a pretty good example of an objective use for the infinitive. Okay. All right. So next page. So since he had not been that, then you get your main verb, that de erat. So kata was lacking in no thing for the common safety. Okay, so he was trying to take very good care of his troops, make sure everything was in order for them. And that's a saluti there. Your book tells you a nice dative of purpose. Okay, so he was lacking in nothing for that purpose, the common safety. Okay, and he excelled or demonstrated, showed the duties both of a commander in calling and encouraging the soldiers, and kind of understood again, he showed the duties of a soldier in the battle. Okay, so he conducts himself both as a general should, okay, or a commander, and as a good soldier. So he's giving orders, he's praising people, he's arranging them, encouraging them, and he's also fighting bravely himself. Okay, so in calling and encouraging the soldiers, and he also is acting like a good soldier as well. So you can translate also, if you want to. You can translate in calling and arranging, or excuse me, in calling and encouraging the soldiers. He showed the duties both of a commander and of a soldier. Okay. Notice here too, in Apollandis cohortandis militibus, you've got two gerundives there, the calling and encouraging. Okay, and those are going to be, you have to do that little gerundive two-step action. So you take the gerundives, make them a gerund, and then you take the militibus, make it the object of the gerund. Okay, you probably have gotten pretty used to that by now, but just a reminder. Okay, and then next you have a cum clause. All right, so next bit here. Since, because of the length of the battle line, let's see here. Oh yeah. So because of the length of the battle line, they were less easily able, or they will able less easily to provide or to foresee all things. I apologize. Sorry, I'm getting a little jumbled here. Okay, sorry. Because of the length of the battle line, they were less easily able to attend to all things themselves. Okay, so that's the ab era there. And then, less able to attend to all things themselves, and to see. Okay, there's that pro witera, to see or to foresee, perhaps would be better. What was to be done, or what must be done in each place. Okay? So you've got that causal clause. So you've got the possent there. That's why that's in the subjunctive with that cum clause. And then you have faciendum esset, also in the subjunctive. And that's going to be a nice example of an indirect question and, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, indirect question and a passive paraphrastic. So that's where you've got the what had to be done, what must be done, okay, in each place. Let's see here. And then, so userunt, they ordered, meaning Sabinus and Cotta, so they ordered and then for pronuntio, you can say something like they ordered the word to be passed. All right, or I think that's what they give you in your book. They ordered to pass along the word or something along those lines. Okay, so they ordered to pass the word along. That they should abandon the baggage and should take their stand in a circle. Okay? Your book here tells you volative, subjunctive, and substantive clause of purpose. Again, this is something we've seen quite a bit. Wheelock likes to call it the jussive noun clause. Okay? So they ordered the word to be pronounced that such and such should happen. Okay? So that's where those subjunctives, relinquerent, consisterent, come in. All right, and then the last page here, this is line 13, quod concilium. All right, and this plan, even if it apologize here, even if it is not to be reproached, or even if it should not be criticized or something like that, in the difficulty or in the misfortune of such a kind. So, and this plan, even if it is not to be criticized in a misfortune of this kind, or of such a kind, nevertheless, it turned out inconveniently. Not exactly probably the best translation there, but that's what your book gives you, inconveniently. You could also say, like, unfortunately. So, in other words, Kata's plans here was not exactly bad necessarily, but it just did not work out well. Okay, and then Nam 4. It both lessened the hope for our soldiers, okay, and a fake it. It made the enemies more eager, or your book says more fired up. That's also an interesting translation. More fired up for the fight. Okay. Notice there you've got the la criores, nice comparative there. Also, this is something Latin 1 is kind of looking at different adjective uses. So you've got attributive adjective, predicate adjective, substantive, and then you have what's called an objective complement. And this would be a great use of an objective complement. It made them more more eager. Okay. And then quote, because it seemed that this had been done not without the highest fear and desperation. Okay, so it basically this both the Roman soldiers and the enemy soldiers are looking at the actions of their generals here, and both groups think that the Romans are acting because of fear and desperation. So it makes the Romans more fearful, and it makes the enemies more eager to attack. All right. So you got a causal clause there with that quote, and then the videbater gives an indirect statement. So that's where that id factum comes in. That it. So it seemed that it had been done. All right. And then we mentioned this a while back, but that non sine, not without, that double negative, it's something called litotes. So you negate something to reinforce a positive. Okay. Continuing on here. Furthermore, it happened, which was necessary to be done. So further it happened, which was necessary to be done, that everywhere the soldiers were leaving from their ranks, or were abandoning their ranks. Or you could also translate it, were abandoning their standards, which I think is a little bit, I think it's a little more of a strong term. They're leaving those standards which kind of held them together. So they're abandoning their ranks, which, sorry, the things which each one held, excuse me, each one of them held most dear. Okay, so those things which each one of them held most dear. Okay. sorry, just getting jumbled here. So those things which each one held most dear, he um, hastened to seek from the baggage and to take it hurriedly, or to seize it hurriedly. Okay? So, they tell you in a fire, never go back for your valuables, just go out and save yourself. These guys were not doing that. They were trying to go get those valuables. Okay, and then the last bit here, so we had the soldiers were abandoning those things which each one held. He hastened to seek and to retrieve. And let's see here, they all things were completed, or all things were let's see here, be a better translation. All things were filled, probably would be better, with shouting and with lamentation, and with weeping. Okay? So you've got those three subjunctives there. All of those are subjunctives of result. Okay, that discederate, properat, and the complementar. All right? Those are all subjunctives of result. And then I think the haberit could either be a subjunctive in that relative clause of characteristic. You could also perhaps take it as just a subjunctive in a what's it called? Relative. Sorry. A subjunctive in a subordinate clause. Okay, so either that. I like the clause of characteristic, though. That could definitely work here. Those sorts of things which each one held dear. All right. So that's your translation for 533. I'm sorry again. I'm kind of jumbled a lot of times. I apologize. For tomorrow, if you can do 534, and same sort of deal, just take a picture of your work and upload it on the LMS. That would be most excellent. So, hope you guys have a great day. Love you all, and talk to you later.